Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, do not call it a rebuild, more like a retool this off-season. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I get to fly along here as your co-host, SteelFlyers. How you doing, Lance?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. If I was any better, I'd be you.
I doubt that, but let's...
Well, no, because we have to get into it right off the bat, right?
All right.
The reason why I said that is because Mr. Lance celebrated a birthday yesterday, so birthday congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I stopped celebrating them some time ago.
Well, all right, but that doesn't stop them from happening, so.
It does not.
Time marches on no matter what. Speaking of marching on, we're going to get right into it here, folks, and let's just say this. Do not call it a rebuild. More like a retool this offseason. And some other places are getting retooled as well. And Mr. Lance Green posted an article fresh off the presses just today, posted out to flyersnittygritty.com. And Flyers Brass bringing in a member of the old guard to help coach the Phantoms. And I got to tell you, I say this is good to have Smith back as far as I'm concerned. He was a gritty, hard-nosed player, if only captain for one season, but all right. So at first, we thought, yeah, they put Lappy down there as coach, and that was kind of a demotion we felt, right?
It was. Yeah.
For the Phantoms, okay? So what does it say now to you that Chuck brought in Mr. Smith?
Well, it says to me that he wants to get away from the stereotypical league persona that they've grown into now of just score happy offense, and defense goes by the wayside, and all the little things that make a good player great. Yeah. Is being, just going by the wayside now. They don't care about that. They just want to see somebody score goals, and that's what they think that the NHL has come to, but that's far from the truth. And it hasn't worked well for the Flyers when they've been drafting, and hence Chuck Fletcher basically, getting rid of any and all of those players that this offseason. So, bringing in a guy like Jason Smith is brilliant in my mind. He is a goaltender's dream when he played out there.
Oh yeah.
He was very physical. Mm-hmm. He took guys off the puck. He cleared the front of the net with ease. He would stand in front. If you look at the photo, that memorable photo from my article that I posted on there. It is him with just blood on his jersey and a huge black eye from taking a puck to the face. And when they put Lappy in that position, after he spent so much time with the Flyers and didn't really work out, we both said, I believe, we thought it was a demotion, and rightfully so at that point. He wasn't really getting the same wavelength that he was when he was working with the younger players. And I wished him all the best, but it was definitely a demotion. But with Chuck bringing in Jason, it's developing into possibly a new mindset where he wants to take the team, where he wants the youth of this team to learn from these two great players who gave it their all out on the ice. They sacrificed their body night in and night out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? They were complete players. They never took a shift off.
No.
They did all the little things right. Like Joffrey Lupo, who was Smith's teammate, pointed out so gracefully when he said he, meaning Smith, doesn't really do one thing that stands out. He just does the right thing every day. Now, this was a time when the Flyers were trying to win now, and they brought him in. You know, he had a 15-year career in the NHL, and they only managed to land Smith for one season after he led Edmonton to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
He came in and was great, was immediately given the C because he deserved it.
Yeah.
He is that type of player that changes your locker room. And when he talks, people shut up and listen. You know, and that was what we needed at the time. But this was a time when the Flyers were going after these players a little too late. They were going after these players well into their 30s. Established veterans, yes, but past their prime. And, you know, that was a thing that they did for quite some time and never really got to build off of that. They just kept throwing these type players in every season and then would lose them. So I think Chuck is doing the right thing when he's bringing in a guy like Ristolainen at 26 years of age, who is a player that he thinks he needed, the type of player that he thinks he needs to develop a team, and not go back to this and bring a guy like in Smith, who is a phenomenal player, but a little too long in the tooth.
Yeah,
But,
when we finally got him, he was in his
right.
Late 30s, at the twilight of his career. You know what I mean?
For sure. So with this movement, I really, really like it. Pairing these two guys in Laperriere and Smith together, I really think that the defense, you know, with the Flyers system, really needs a player like this to show them, or now a coach like this, to really show them the right way to play the game.
Yeah.
This signing is bigger than most would think of just some AHL, you know, assistant coach. This is a change of philosophy in the system that is going to build these young players that Chuck drafts and that you know, Hextall drafted previously, and develop them the right way. Think of where guys maybe like Sam Moran would have been if Jason Smith was around to guide him on how to be a better NHL defenseman.
See this big goofy grin on my face?
Right, and allow him to play the way that he needs to play to be effective. You know, that's where this is taking it, and you know, with this, it just paints a better picture with the exodus of guys like Nolan Patrick and Phil Myers and Shane Gostisbehere and Jake Voracek. You know, all these players that don't really fit the way that both Laperriere and Jason Smith played over the years. Guys that were kind of selfish, the guys that wouldn't give it all on the ice the whole time when they're out there, guys that wouldn't play the body, guys that wouldn't throw their body in front of a shot to block it. You know, this is a bigger picture, guys, and I am really, really excited about this one.
Okay. I figured as much when the you know, the Guardian of the Blue Paint Turns writer puts an article out about a coach, that to me speaks volumes about this coach, and that's why we're talking about this, obviously. But I remember when he played, and I remember when he was elected to the captaincy of this team, because each player that gets the captaincy is elected by the players, right? And so he was elected right away. That speaks volumes about that kind of player and who he was. And I believe he came in and took over after, was it the Darian Hatcher? Then it was the Desjardins, because Desjardins was only captain for like a season or two, and Hatcher was only captain for like a season or two, and then he was there for one season. You know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah. I have to agree with you, because both him and Laperriere were those type of players where they weren't the Mario Lemieux and the Wayne Gretzkys, but they were those type of players that you need to have on your team. They're those glue players that go to the dirty areas, that do exactly what Joffrey Lupul said about Jason Smith. Is he doesn't do the big flashy things. He just does everything right. So if you're doing the little things right, if you're skating all the way to the blue line to touch up so that you don't have to do a face-off down in your end, you do a face-off down in their end. I mean, that just that little tick of doing that little thing right could be the difference in the game. Because how many times have we seen when a face-off is down on the other end, all it takes is 1.7 seconds and the puck is in the net. Because all it takes is you to drop the puck and boom, there it goes.
Yeah, it's like what I put in the article, a quote from the 10-time national championship winning UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, when he said, it's the little details that are vital. Little things make big things happen. And by that, he means it's the ones that work hard like that do all the little things, the fundamentals of the game that some people forget in the bigger picture of things, help you win games. And that's what Jason Smith did. And that's what I hope he is able to bring forth and teach these young star players that are going to come up into the Phantoms and eventually hopefully be Flyers. And doing so will help us get back onto the, playoff contingency plan here. It's like I preached about for so long with Tampa Bay. They do all they scout these players that do all the little things right, and they pay off for them.
Well, so, obviously it pays off because they've hoisted the cup for 2 years in a row now. Right. So I say that's payoff as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're obviously doing something right down there. You know what I'm saying? And so so now we got two really good ex-players down there coaching the youngsters, right? And I'm all for you on that. Okay, I'm all on board. I think that the Phantoms were a pretty darn good team under Gordon. All right, and frankly, I don't know what the whole situation was where because I haven't seen Gordon hired by anybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's whatever the situation was. Okay, I mean, it is what it is, and now LePerriere and Smith are going to be the coaches of the Phantoms, and I'm going to be interested to see how this team rolls now with a full season, and new coaching, a bit of a different philosophy, a different message,
a full training camp,
yeah, that's the other thing too, a full off season. Do you know what I mean? Last year at this time, we were getting ready to play hockey for 8 weeks or 6 weeks or however long it was, right? And they handed the cup out really late. This year, they still handed the cup out relatively late, all things considered. Normally, it's handed out the beginning of June. You know what I mean? This year, not so much. But still getting mostly a full off season for the most part. Camps are going to start at normal time and going to be full camps. They're going to have a full 82 game season. The divisions are going to be back, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. So I just want to know one thing. All in all, though, I think you'd have to say that this was a pretty savvy move by Chuck to bring in Jason Smith to help coach the Phantoms. I mean, I think he's going to instill a style of play because, especially with Ian LePerriere too. You know what I mean? I have to agree with you 100%. And you point that out in your article, you know what I mean? That his style, is one of those things where it's going to be good for those youngsters to learn from. And I agree. It would have been nice if we could have had him maybe 3 years ago, or something like that. Now, where where has he come from? Like, has he coached anywhere else, or was he an assistant somewhere? Was he down in the minors? Or I haven't seen his name anywhere.
When I looked it up, I really, truthfully, couldn't find anything either. And a lot of these guys, retire and take some time off from the game
Yeah.
to see their kids and raise their kids, because they miss so much of the early years and stuff when they're playing, and they want to be there when their own kids start playing the game or doing whatever they get into, so they can support them, and be a person that's at home besides just in the summer, and help raise them. So I really don't know what he's been doing. I wasn't able to see if he really dived into coaching before this. you know but at the same token, there's other ones out there. I know Hatcher really coaches his own kind of team there, in juniors, and does some different stuff. He would have been a great person to bring in as well. But it's kudos to why the Flyers bring back so many of their own players, is because they built through the system with Ed Snyder, and they want to stay around the area. Most of the time, you see them go back home. After they retire, they go back to wherever they were from and live the rest of their life out. But a lot of these players stay around the Philadelphia area and raise their kids here, because it's a good community, and it's a community that they are loved in. Even after they retire, nobody forgets about these players. They appreciate them in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia fans remember what they did for their organizations.
Oh yeah.
So this is why we see so many players coming back in and into the organization and want to be a part of this organization, because through Mr. Snyder's so many years with the team that he built and funded and everything like that, it's just payback to the town that gave them a chance. And I just really like it, and I want to see him do well, and I want to see him excel. And I think if anybody, I really, really like the type of player that Jason Smith and Ian LaPerriere were out on the ice. And, I just want to see that old school style of hockey come back. Not just the knuckle dragging, brawlers, that they both could be at times when needed. But that wasn't the only thing that they brought to the game. They brought penalty killing. They brought, a lot of different aspects of the game, a complete game. And that's what I think Chuck Fletcher wants to do. With this salary cap era, you really want the most out of each and every player that you're going to sign to a contract. And, I think that these two can fulfill that for Chuck, and to teach these guys how to be a complete player before they get to the NHL level.
Teach the kids to use the muscle between their ears.
Imagine that.
Gosh, hey, how about that? How about if you exercise that muscle? Yeah, I mean, come on. The old joke in football is that it's 90% mental, 10% physical. Seriously, let's face it. In football, you only have to have a short little burst of energy has to be expended, and then it's over. In hockey, you have to be constantly moving. There's no stopping. Okay, even if you're gliding, you're still expending energy. You're still, you know what I mean, because you're doing something. You're probably, handling the puck or making a check or something. You know what I mean? So, and Pittsburgh is like that too with the Steelers. A lot of the old players stuck around. A lot of the guys stuck around. You know what I mean? Like, they've had Carnell Lake, Joey Porter, Alan Faneca has done time, Hines Ward has done time. All these players, Tunchokin, every one of them have all come back. Even Joe Green was coach for the Steelers for a while. They've all come back to the same thing. The same thing that the Flyers did with Ed Snyder. That's what the Steelers were doing with the Roonies. Okay, because the players wanted to come and stay there and play. And not only after they played, they wanted to stay there and hang out there and be there and raise their families and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. I get it.
Well, that's a sign of a good organization, and
Exactly.
and hockey's like that as well. I played goal, and I can tell you, if my head wasn't in it, I wasn't having a good game, and you got to be ready and wrap your head around everything. So, before you're actually going to step out. And there is a goaltender that the Flyers signed recently that it is supposed to be pretty good at just that. So,
well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I really like. I just want to touch on this here before we move on. I really like the idea here of LaPerriere and Smith as coach of the Phantoms. I'm hoping, because it doesn't always translate. When you're that kind of a gritty type of player, that doesn't always translate on the ice. That doesn't or translate into coaching. Because yes, that's the kind of player you were, but maybe you don't necessarily know how to show other people how to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? So we're hoping that that's what the case is that LaPerriere and Smith and, can bring that out in those players and show those players, because that's the kind of player they were. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we're hoping, right?
Yeah, I think both of them are going to teach these young guys how to be good pros. And the reason why I think LaPerriere failed at the NHL level was because players are jaded nowadays. A lot of people, unless you have 5 Stanley Cup rings on your hand, they're not going to really listen to you if they're making, all this boatloads of millions of dollars, and they're not hungry anymore. But for somebody trying to make it that may not have the best skill set out there, or be the elite player that just automatically gets drafted and is placed in the NHL day one, guys like that have to work. And, these two will and can, show these guys how to do so correctly to make them good pros.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was hoping and expecting, that's how this was going to turn out, and that's kind of what I think the organization is looking at as well, too. It seems like that's the case.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So with that being said, there's a few other things I want to talk about, because obviously the name of the episode, right, is don't call it a rebuild, call it a retool, right?
Right.
So now that the dust has settled over Gotham and Batman and Robin have returned to their vigil of the night, I mean, now that the craziness is over, let's take a good hard look at just what the Flyers did over the last few weeks during the draft and free agency. It was a bit of a whirlwind there, and we didn't really get a chance to touch on some specific things. You know what I mean? We had a chance to talk to Bill Meltzer about some things. We did a pre-draft show, and that was all cool. And then we did some other stuff afterwards and everything like that. But we didn't really get a chance to just kind of, all right, now we've had some time to digest it a little bit.
Right. Okay.
I want to know what your thoughts are on this Rasmus Ristolainen trade.
Sure. I like it. If you look at everything encompassing it, I did write an article suggesting that the Flyers trade for him at the trade deadline. Back then, I thought he would be an amazing pickup. He fills a lot of needs that the Flyers didn't have on their current roster. He's very physical. He is that player that can clear the front of the net. He is that player that will stand up for his teammates. He is that player that'll stand guys up the blue line and cause turnovers. And
by the way, that's 3 check boxes just in case you're keeping score at home.
Right. So yes, his statistics are not the best. I am a huge plus minus guy, guys. And he doesn't have it. He's got very horrible plus-minus rating over his career, but let's be honest, he played in Buffalo. They haven't been able to put a decent team on the ice since Dominik Hasek dressed for them. And they still didn't then. It was just because Dominik Hasek was that good. But, they also forced him to be a number one defenseman when he clearly wasn't. He was a number three he was a number 3 or number 4 defenseman, and he still is. And that's fine. You need those type guys, and that's what he is going to be in Philadelphia. He's going to be a 3 or a 4. He's not going to be asked to play above his level against guys like Ovechkin or anything like that. He's going to play the second-tier guys and the more gritty and bring that gritty style of play. When you look at the trade, a lot of people say that they gave up too much for him. A first-round pick, yada, yada, yada. Yes, he does have 1 year left on his contract, but it is a guy that could be re-signed. He has a deal in place now that pays him a decent amount of money. Not an absorbent amount of money, like trading for a guy that the Flyers were in on in Seth Jones, who is now re-signed for what, $9 million?
9.5.
Plus $9.5 million
for
a year for 6 years or something. Yeah. So that is a little too much to swallow there, I think, is what you're getting at, Steel. And, this is a guy, we already have that guy to be that top pairing guy. And we brought him in as well, Chuck did, for a reasonable amount of money per year, right? So both of these moves, almost with, both of these moves in Ellis and Ristolainen, we got 2 players for the price of 1 that Chicago did, necessarily.
Yeah.
Virtually. So
for only $2 million more.
Right. So,
because Seth Jones was 9.5 and Ristolainen and Ellis together, I think, are like 11.
Yeah. So, yes, I'll do that. I'll take that trade any day. Seth Jones is not worth $9.5 million a year. And you look at the current market of guys, what they're getting with Zach from Columbus, getting an absorbent amount of money, $9 million a year. And all these guys that are signing are just way, way out there prices. It's good. It's inflated and it's going to come back down. And Chuck saw that he was not going to be able to swing that deal, and he turned out and got a guy more so that we needed big time. Sanheim is not physical. Provorov isn't overly physical. He got rid of Myers, who wasn't physical. Ghost wasn't really physical, so he got rid of some guys. He shredded some players that wasn't the greatest, and he replaced them with some players that better fit AV's system. So yes, I'm excited about it. I think it brings a bit of muscle in that the Flyers really haven't had in a great number of years. And, I want to see the stadium standing on their feet when this guy makes a check again this season, a full capacity crowd, hopefully. And, I want to see that again. I want to see the Flyers. Yeah, I want to see the Flyers, sixth man, really, really get into the game this year. And I think that'll bring them back for sure.
That's why the title of this is what it is, because you can't really consider it to be a rebuild, because there was an exchange of players for a different kind of player, right? We went with the score first defenseman to a more protect the puck, stay at home defenseman type player. You know what I mean? Where we went after a guy that actually shoots the puck first instead of cares about making that pass first. Right. You know what I mean? So I have to say that all things considered, when you look at all the numbers and you look at it in the analytics and the Corsi and all that other stuff, Ramus Ristolainen played for a really poo-poo team, to put it mildly. Right? Yes. Even the goaltending was poo-poo. Okay? So he checks off a lot of the boxes, like I said earlier. He has the size. He has the grit. He's not afraid to clear the porch. He's not afraid to stick up for guys. You know what I mean? And he brings that, that pea and vinegar kind of, that we need. This team needs.
Kind of sounds like a guy we were just talking about before who just got named coach, right?
Hey, how about that? Jason Smith, what do you know? Gosh, played the same. I mean, I don't know if you could compare the two, but he checked off a lot of those boxes as well, too. So I'm excited to see how this is going to work, because I'm also very excited, because we didn't really get a chance to talk about this a lot either, was the Ellis deal. I think that one is more significant than the Ristolainen move. Okay.
Sure.
Because I think that secured that pairing for Provorov and for Ellis. That, to me, I think is going to be a really nice pairing for Philadelphia that's going to do well for them. And I can see both of those players excelling with each other.
Yes, for sure. That was the biggest mistake of Chuck Fletcher's, offseason last year. He did not replace Niskanen, and we saw how the defense faltered with him not being able to do so. Now with Ryan Ellis coming in, he is over 30, but barely. And he is going to be able to come in, solidify that first pairing right-hand shot defensive role, and play alongside Provorov for a number of years to come. He's under contract for a while.
Yep.
And he's still not getting paid as the market price is going now. He's a reasonable deal for a first pairing. Yeah. Team-friendly deal, if you can call it that. That's still an absorbent amount of money, but not compared to what guys are getting signed to right now.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the other thing, too, I wanted to point out as well, too. Not only, look, I'm eating a lot of crow here on all this, too, by the way. Just want to let you all know that here, folks, because I was very down on Chuck Fletcher this past offseason. At the beginning of at the end of the season and everything, I wanted to see heads roll, because I just did not have any faith in what Chuck was going to do with this team, because he was not showing me anything. And what he was showing me was not very good. To put
a lot
it mildly.
A lot of excuses.
See, I don't want to hear this, right? I want to use these because this does way more than this. You can talk all you want, but until you walk the walk, right? So you show me what you're doing. Well, you know what? Chuck is showing me. And I'm going to say I'm going to be thankful that I've seen some of these moves that I've really, really liked. I think Rasmussen was a little bit overpaid. They probably could have gotten away with just a first-round pick and Robert Haig. Okay, I don't think they needed to keep giving him picks.
Well, you never know. I mean, when you get on the phone and you're desperate for a physical defenseman, I don't think there was that many out there. David Savard, was a name out there, but he's still not as physical as Ristolainen. So, you have to pay the market price, and I still think they got a bargain. If you look at the deal that what Chicago had to give up even to secure Seth Jones was, excessive. So all in all, I think it wasn't really even though it seems like it. It fixes the defensive core this year, not 5 years from now when we would have kept that first round pick and hoped to get another Provorov or something like that in the draft. It gives you a legit first round, NHL proven player, and it turned around that defense more so than just bringing in Ryan Ellis. So
yeah, I don't have a problem with giving up a first round pick if you're gonna give me a first round pick in return, right? So Ristolainen was what? I think he was 11th overall, 8th or 11th. I can't remember.
Yeah.
When the year that he was drafted, right? So, all right. I think he's a proven NHL starter. And I think if he got under the right system and with the right coaching, I think he could be exactly what the Flyers need him to be. Okay. And that top pairing defenseman with Provorov. And even he's got this year on his contract, right? I think he's going to be one of those guys that, because Chuck didn't spend all the money, there's still money left, right? Because you still have to ink Carter Hart. He hasn't signed because I'm going to get into that in a minute. And Sanheim is in arbitration. Okay, so you still have two offers out there that need to be taken care of first, right? So that's the next thing I want to get into. I'm also gonna touch on this lightly as well too. I really like the Cam Atkinson move too, because to me, I think that takes an older player in Voracek who I believe really needs to not be here anymore. Okay,
he's not.
Right. Look, I'm not trying to put anybody down by any stretch of the word, because these guys are professional athletes and they're living the dream that I can only dream. Okay, and they're living it. All right. But what I have a hard time with is a player who is 31, 32 years old, like Voracek, who's making $8.25 million a year and is only doing 0.76 points per game. I have a hard time with that kind of salary and that kind of payment on a player like that. Now, is that a good enough player to still play in the NHL? Yep. Is it worth $8.25 million a year? Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on that in a previous article for sure.
I know.
Yeah, and I think at this point it was a needed exodus. He was getting to be, I mean, who wasn't blocked on Twitter by Voracek? Let's be honest.
Well, I was never even followed by him, so I could never have been blocked anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so, but that's one of the big things. He was pretty negative, all around towards the end. And although we liked the guys on the team, and the guys on the team generally liked him, he was just negative towards all the media, negative towards it. And I mean, at some point, you really got to look at yourself. And what if enough people are saying something about you, there might be some truth to it. And then that way, he AV sat him, times the previous seasons because he wasn't giving a full effort. And he was kind of mailing it in towards the end here. And like you said prior, this move not only freed up more cap space when they acquired Atkinson, but it brought in a better penalty killer, a better scorer, which, Voracek would love to pass the puck and set players up fine, but we have that same guy across the ice in Claude Giroux, who we're paying even more money to do the same thing. So it brings in a scoring threat, an NHL All-Star scoring threat in that token. So it saved us money. It brought in a guy that's a positive guy in the locker room that everybody loves, and a leader. He was an assistant captain there as well, and we touched on that, last show as well, with bringing in true proven leaders to try to change the stigma or that cloud that is hovering over the locker room right now, and it's just a negative atmosphere, in that locker room, and bringing in some guys that can change that culture in that locker room. And Chuck alluded to that in, recent interviews as well. That was one of his big goals, and I think he succeeded in that as well.
Like I said, I'm continuing to eat crow here on this whole situation here, folks, because I did not have faith in Chuck in doing the right things, or at least doing some things to try to at least improve this team. And I have to say that I've seen some moves here that I'm quite impressed with. I really like the Cam Atkinson move. I really like that. Okay. I really like that he's changing the culture there by bringing in these leadership type, these role player type guys. Not only are they checking off the boxes of things that the Flyers need, finishers, guys that shoot first, guys that can check, guys that can clear the porch, guys that are shut down defensemen, guys that can play good on the penalty kill. All the things that the Flyers were lacking. A lot of these players that they've brought in check off a lot of those boxes and fill a lot of those needs. And they got rid of the players that weren't meeting those needs. Right?
That in my mind, that those moves of the players that he was able to get rid of just in one offseason alone, that were those type players that were hurting the team rather than helping them when they were on the ice. That is the bigger move out of, even if they didn't bring anything back. I was just happy to get rid of certain players on this roster that were negative players in that plus minus, and guys that would not give it their all.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. Hey, I'm with you. So now the big question is this, because during this whole whirlwind of everything, the draft and the free agency, the Flyers went out and got a backup goaltender in Martin Jones. Okay. He played for San Jose. He was not playing for another player, not playing for one of the best teams on the planet. So his Corsi numbers and his numbers are not going to look really all that great. So you have to wait and judge him on how he plays in front of the Flyers or behind the Flyers. Okay. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the guy that's supposed to be the number one guy, and that's Carter Hart. And I hadn't heard nothing about him signing no contract yet. What's going on?
Well, I think that's Chuck's MO as these since he's taken over for the Flyers.
You mean?
Yeah. If you remember, Ivan Provorov took some time to sign.
Konechny did too.
Konechny did as well. And he wants to lay out who he needs to bring in and see what he has left over and entice these players enough to sign a team-friendly deal because of the work he's done. So, I'm not worried in that sense that a deal won't get done with Carter Hart. I'm not worried that a deal, will not get done with Travis Sanheim. If he's waiting, he's able to show guys like Sanheim. Okay, Adam Larson, who was an amazingly talented defenseman and played very well in Edmonton, signed with Seattle for just $4 million a year. Okay, there's been some other deals that have been signed for other defensemen so far this offseason, and it kind of gives him Chuck the ability to go to Sanheim and saying, hey, this type of player only got this. You're not on his level. You're not on his level, so you're not going to get paid what you're asking. How about this number? And, it gives him some leverage when he goes into, talks with the players' agents and stuff like that. So, if we want to throw out a number for, say, Travis Sanheim, he's a fourth defenseman for the Flyers next season. And, I see him receiving much of the same contract that he already signed last time. I don't see it going over $4 million a season, and it shouldn't.
Oh, no, I don't think so at all.
He's just not worth it. If he gets a raise at all, it might be it was 3.25 or something like that. It may go up to 3.5 a season, but I would say, let's, prove yourself. You've really had a down year last season. We'll sign you back. We can't, you're a restricted free agent. We can't offer you less than we paid you last year. But how about, leading towards the same thing? And if I'm not mistaken, I think they put him, the team went to arbitration for his behalf because he's probably asking for an absorbent amount of money that they're just going to let the NHL kind of throw out a number for them to prove their point even more. So
Okay, I wasn't really sure. That's what I was going to ask you. What does that whole arbitration mean? So basically, what you're saying is that Sanheim is asking for XYZ number, and Philadelphia is like, that's a nice number, but that's not going to be your number
Yeah, it can work. It's a two-way street in
because
that
they
in
had
that
to
sense
tender
because
him an offer.
right.
They had to tender him an offer like they
They
did
had to
Carter Hart.
they had to tender him at least the amount of money that he got paid the previous year.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty par for the course where I think he should be getting paid,
Okay.
but he may be coming in and asking more, and it can work in both favors for the team. They can use it and say, hey, we're not getting to the point of agreement.
Mm,
Let's have the NHL powers that be, throw out a number that we can both agree upon or that we should agree upon. And the player can also do that as well. He can offer, he could ask for arbitration if he thinks the team is being just unreasonable and lowballing them as well. So, but in this case, the team did. So we shall see. We don't know. I haven't seen any numbers of what or rumors of what either side have been talking about in that sense, and we'll have to play it out and see
see
what
how it
it
goes.
see what it
Yeah.
comes out with. But hopefully he's not coming back in for $5 million a year or something crazy like that because he doesn't deserve that much. So
I'm
not yet.
okay.
So
I'm going to go against a lot of fans here, and I'm probably going to go against a lot of other people, but I'm not necessarily a fan of bringing him back.
at this point, I don't think we have a choice. I think the team really likes him. I don't have the same mindset. I think he's much of the same player that Myers was. He's big for nothing, and he doesn't really play a physical game at all. And I think that the team and the coach likes him, and I think that they chose between him and or Myers because they're much
And
of the
or
same
Haig.
player, right? And decided that this is the player that they wanted to keep around out of the bunch that they already had,
All right.
and hoping that he grows into a little bit more. He does have an offensive side, and he can rush into the play, but that's great. But I think he needs to learn how to play the defensive side of the
Okay.
game a little bit more. So
Okay. So does this, fingers crossed, spell the end for Justin Braun?
you hope so, sir. At the end of this upcoming season, I do not believe they bring him back.
No.
Or
I do not want to see that man suit up and put skates on the ice this season.
well, you're kind of stuck because they signed him
Okay.
for 2 years last season, and we don't really have another right-hand shot defenseman that can fill that bottom pairing. So we're stuck with him for this one. But in better notes, he is going to play a third pairing role like he should be playing. Um, the previous season to this last season, he did that and he played not horrible when he was forced to play that fifth or sixth defenseman. But last season, when you're asking a guy that is up there in years to play and not on the talent level that should be playing that of a first pairing defenseman because you didn't have anybody else or you didn't fill that spot with Niskanen, that's making him look that much worse than he already is. So I think we are to put up with Braun for the rest of this season. And, maybe if the Flyers somehow don't manage to make the playoffs, maybe he's gone to a team that is really depleted and needs a veteran defenseman. Hopefully, fingers crossed at the trade deadline. But hopefully, we make the playoffs and the Flyers get rid of him after this season.
Or maybe, just maybe, Cam York makes the team out of camp. And
Well, he's a left-hand shot defenseman, so I doubt he will play the side that Braun would. So
why do you keep sticking up for this guy?
I'm not sticking up for it. It's just reality, sir. We're stuck with
know.
him.
I know. Gosh, man. It's like the recurring Michael Rathje nightmare, right? It's the McDonald nightmare. It's the guy that won't go away. Here.
For me, it was Yanni picking, and I couldn't stand
Oh gosh. I am with you on that. Oh my god. Dude, the guy can't skate. He can't handle anything with his stick. Why is he still on the team? Okay, I don't get it. We went out and got all these great defensemen. We got rid of the dead weight and got rid of this and that and everything else. And yet there's Braun.
Sir, who do you think would actually wanted to take him if they offered him up? I can't see anybody.
Well, I don't need him to be offered up. I need him to be waived.
That costs money as well.
I know. Look, I don't have anything personal against the guy. Okay. But when you watch the guy night in and not night out, not hit the marks, not make the passes, get completely overwhelmed, make stupid mistakes, turn the puck over. I mean, I'm trying real hard. I'm trying, man. I'm trying real hard. Okay, I think I can do it for one more season. I guess we're gonna have to. All right, I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't have anything personal against these guys, but it's very difficult for me to see players who I think are blocking other players, like a Cam York or like somebody else, and they're skating around in mud. Okay, I have a hard time with that. And the fact that I felt that his entire contract was a knee-jerk reaction to Niskanen retiring, that is the other thing too that I believe was a huge mistake from Chuck Fletcher. Not only did he give him 1 year, but he gave him 2. What? Okay, I'm done now. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. So.
All right. So now, a lot of guys come in. The draft happened.
It did.
We got a couple of picks in the draft this year, and we really didn't get a chance to talk about the players that the Flyers were able to draft. Okay, and I just want to briefly talk about the first 2 players that the Flyers selected because they didn't have a first-round pick. So they had a second-round pick and they had a third-round pick, and these are the 2 guys I want to just focus in on. So in round 2, the Flyers selected Simu Tumala.
Sure. Yes. Glad you said that. Not me. So this player, he was a projected late first-round draft pick. He fell a little bit, obviously, to the second round. And, he is pretty darn good on tape, for sure. With that being said, he is rather small. Again, he's under 6 foot tall. He's 5'10". Hopefully, he can grow a couple inches and drink his milk. But
that's a lot of milk.
That is a lot of milk. But
that's a lot of milk.
He does have a nice wrist shot. He can get into those tough areas and score. And it's about time that the Flyers draft a Finn. It has been over a decade since I think the Flyers drafted any Finn. So, he's very quick on his feet. He likes to shoot, which is good. We didn't get another pass first guy. And
go figure.
Yeah, he did lead Finland at the World Juniors with 11 points in 7 games.
Yeah.
So It looked good. He had a great year in juniors over there in Finland for Kapat. 31 points in 30 games, so that's over a point a game. He was a plus player with a plus 19, but when he got the shot to step up to the Liga, which is their top league over there, he didn't do squat. He played in 5 games and he didn't register a single point. So this year upcoming, he will be playing full-time in the Liga, projected, and we'll see what he does. He doesn't need to be rushed. I think the Flyers have positions and have players, that, like you said, that retooling of sorts with Atkinson, that we don't really have to rush him. But, overall, would I like to see other players? Yes. At number 46 when the Flyers selected, but I think that they thought that this guy was higher up on their draft board and should have been on many teams' draft boards. So they took a chance at him, and we'll see if it pays off. I'm interested to see what he does on a full-time schedule in the Liga next season, and I want to see him put on some size and weight. He's a right wing, so I think I'm actually working on an article right now of how the Flyers are a little in need of a right wing, towards the bottom of the roster right now. So I think that overall it fit a need of a scoring right winger in the next coming year. So we shall see. I'm not overly thrilled with it, but I'm not
it's not like the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world for sure.
Gotcha. All right. They did pick up a goaltender in the 3rd round, and that is Alexei Kolosov.
Yes.
Kolosov. Okay. All right. I was close. And he played for Minsk in Belarus there. 6'1", 185 pounds, left-handed goaltender. And I think there was other ones up there a little better. Yeah.
I think it was a stretch. For sure. I don't know. I think that we already have this Belarus type goaltender from there in Usterminko, and he's kind of has to still prove himself at the AHL level. He did great in the ECHL level, but he kind of fell on his face a little bit when he got asked to step up to the AHL. He's not the biggest kid. He is 19, so he was an overager that they drafted in Alexei, and he's 6 foot tall, 187 pounds right now, so he's not a huge force in the nets. He's a good skater. He can get from side to side of the pipes pretty well across the bottom of the net, but it still leaves some holes up top for me, glove hand, blocker hand. So, he played for Belarus at the World Junior Championships and went 0-2. But again, who else was he playing with on that team? Not too many formidable guys come out of that region just yet. So he had over a 4 goal against average with a subpar 900 save percentage in that time. He is set to play in the KHL next season.
Okay.
So we'll see what he does with a bit of a better defense in front of him. Better team in front of him. The KHL is a defensive league that we know, and we'll see what happens. I do think that the Flyers probably could have signed a free agent after the draft in Cameron Rowe.
We talked about him.
Or one of my favorite, Dryden McKay, who plays in the NCAA, who's a undrafted free agent, who is simply amazing.
Both of those guys would have been really good.
But and they would have been ready a lot sooner. I do think that the Flyers still need to address the third goaltending position. There is seemingly nobody who is capable of stepping up next season with even a NHL game in to their credit in the Phantoms roster. And I'm scared if either Carter Hart goes down for any length of time or Martin Jones. So I think that needs to be addressed, rather quickly, if at all possible. And I think if you could convince a guy like Dryden McKay to come in from college ranks to turn pro this offseason with a little bit of money, I would do it. I really don't see anything left on the free agent market in which to do so. That wouldn't be of any value for sure. So I'm kind of scared in that sense. I don't want another round the carousel of goaltenders like we had a few seasons ago if somebody gets injured. So I don't know.
No. I'm with you. I don't think it would hurt though to grab one of those undrafted guys. I don't see that would be a problem at all. You could just dangle a little bit of money for them guys, and they'll be like, all right, sure,
Right.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. We covered a lot of stuff here, even though we weren't exactly talking hockey at the very, very beginning of this conversation today, were we? It didn't start off like that, did it? No. But I'll tell you what. I'm excited for this offseason. I mean, more so than what I have been. And when AV got hired that April, that first April, and he came out and said, "Yeah, be an effing Flyer," I was pumped, right? And then, but now this year, I'm excited again. I want to see what this team is going to do now with this new culture, with these new players on this team, with this new set of guys, this new leadership core. I'm very, very, very interested to see how this team is going to fly in the future.
Yeah, I think that Chuck Fletcher, like you said, answered the call. He must have saw Flyers Twitter or some of my articles.
He read some of your articles. He watched the show. It was a clue phone, boy. He answered.
Yeah, and he simply said, "Hold my beer," and he went out there and got himself some effing Flyers players. And it's exciting. I'm excited as well. I think most of Philadelphia and the tri-state area is going to be excited as well to get back into the stadium. I'm interested to see a packed crowd when I go to a game and sit up in the rafters watching the game. I want to see and look down on all of you fans out there. And it was sorely missed last season. It was way too quiet when I went to attend games, with those pumped in crowd noises and all that crap. So I really want to hear everybody get in there and root this team on for sure.
Well, if we're lucky, well, hopefully we'll be able to maybe do some shows from the game down there this coming season. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Sounds
hopefully,
good.
maybe. Yeah, dude, I'm here to tell you, I'm down to go. I'm down to be down there a couple of times at least this coming season, for sure. So that's looking forward to that. Lance, buddy, another great show. Would like to thank Flyers Nitty Gritty for helping us reach Bleacher Reports, man. Dude, 37 weeks in a row. Every time we do a show now, it goes out on Bleacher Reports. Every time. Doesn't matter when we post it on the Flyers Nitty Gritty site. Doesn't matter. So a huge Hockey Writers Inc. salute to Flyers Nitty Gritty. Thank you very much for all that help and support. Appreciate all that. Lance, how can we find you? Where can we get you?
Sure, as always, guys. I'm always on Twitter. I answer all questions, all tweets. And you can follow me at LNGBASSIST, the number 39. You can catch all my articles on flyersnittygritty.com, steelflyers.com. You can catch this show on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere.
That's right, for sure. So check us out. Please hit the like and subscribe. Really appreciate you doing that, man. Really checking that out for sure. Thank you guys very much for checking us out. We'll catch you all next time on the Hockey Writers Inc. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.